We've done it, people. We've read the books of Jakob by Olga Tokarczuk, translated from the Polish by Jennifer Croft. Now, one thing I want to address before the review even begins. I filmed some of this over my reading experience, talking about specific parts. And one thing that I grappled with and was completely inconsistent is using Jacob or Jakob. It's the books of Jakob. Jakob Frank and Jacob Frank, for the purpose of this, are the same people. So is Savati Svi, but we're not going to talk about that now. What is the books of Jakob? Well, the books of Jakob is, well, what the Swedish Academy called Tokarczuk's Magnum Opus. This is a historical novel done on a grand scale. Think of it like Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. This is the scope that Tokarczuk takes in order to discuss the life of Jakob Frank and how Frank got himself into a position where, against all odds, he seemed to do just fine. The books of Jakob was translated in 2021, and I think we all have to praise Croft in her translation. How you are able to translate a work of this scale that talks about this detail, I have no concept of how it was done. And Croft, if you are watching this, I'd love to have a conversation with you of how this is even done. I can't even fathom it. Let's not segue. Let's go back 7 years ago, 2014, when this was originally published. There is a bit of a controversy. There's a little bit of stir about the contents of this book because it brought up some of Poland's unfavourable history. Now, what's interesting about this is that as a Polish novel talking about the Polish Commonwealth, a moment of Polish history, the majority of this book is set in modern day Ukraine. And here I'm going to point you to the first link below this video, which was published by Maria. Now, I have to say to Maria, I think all of us over in the Booker Boy Book Club were absolutely, we needed Maria. She understands this book, she understands the places, she's even been to some of the landmarks and shared photos and the history. I will say that our book club does get a little bit of a mention in the fact that, and I think all of us would agree who were reading this, those who lacked any knowledge of Eastern European history didn't know anything. And to go into the books of Jakob not knowing anything is absolutely daunting. The first part in this book, the books of Jakob, are called books, and that being the Book of Fog, Jesus, is pretty, well, it's an accurate description. It is hazy. You can't really understand where everyone fits into this story and how everything is to come together. We have a little bit of a clearing when we move into the second book, the Book of Sand, and from there on, understanding what the Frankists were and what they did and how Jakob Frank subverts everything is baffling. Again, I read this with my book club, and I think all of us at some point struggled, be that the setting, the history, the culture, the religions that were being discussed, and also the wide, vast, wholly vast set of characters, which you will have to keep an eye on because they're all going to change name. We'll talk about that a bit later. Here's me about 3 months ago. This is a big one. It's also ridiculously heavy, so I am going to keep it here. Now, the first question you might have is, well, how heavy is it? Let's find out. Let's weigh your book. Oh God, it's like nearly a kilo? Well, that's panicking. Yeah, it's heavy, and this book is dense as we are dealing with 18th century Polish history and trying to understand the landscape, trying to understand the people, and we're also trying to understand the boundaries of where all the faiths within this area lie. I know two things about Jakob Frank. One is that he is a false Jewish messiah, and the second thing is that he reportedly wiped his bum on the Torah. That's all I know. In life, you're going to learn some really important things, or you're going to be like me and learn absolute asinine facts. But hey, I now could use that fact. I really hope it's right. I'll be really annoyed if he doesn't wipe his bum on the Torah. Never thought I'd say a sentence like that, but hey ho. Ignore Jacob Frank, because within the Book of Fog, the first book within this, he does not appear at all. He's not really even discussed. We're going to spend our time with some other people. Predominantly, we were going to spend time with Father Chmielowski. There are a lot of Polish names in this, and I'm going to butcher every single one of them. Father Benedict Chmielowski is most noted for writing the Nowej Ateni, which is the first Polish encyclopedia, though there will be many conversations on what language he should write it in. He feels as though Latin is the most apt, but other people feel as though, well, what if you don't speak Latin? What about the people of Poland, or especially the Rahatin area, and the Ruthenians, the Russians, the Ukrainians, and the Poles who don't speak Latin? Who is this encyclopedia for, and what is the purpose of it? And that is the question that plagues Chmielowski within the Book of Fog. But luckily, Chmielowski will give us a beautiful extension or subtitle to the Nowej Ateni, which is the academy full of all science, divided into subjects and classes, for the wise one to record, for the idiots to learn, for the politicians to practice, for the melancholics to entertain, issued. Tokarczuk leading off this is trying to identify, well, what is Poland? What makes someone a Pole? What makes them different from other people? Tokarczuk is clever in everything that she does. Even Chmielowski's encyclopedia that seems to exclude others, she's going to poke fun at within the Book of Jacob. Seeing that Jacob Frank, I really need to decide if I'm going to call this the Book of Jacob or the Book of Jacob. We have a few 800 pages to go. Surely by the end we'll come to some consensus, eh? The extension or the subtitle of the Books of Jacob is a
fantastic journey across 7 borders, 5 languages and 3 major religions, not counting the minor sects. Told by the dead, supplemented by the author, drawing from a range of books aided by imagination, the which be the greatest natural gift of any person, that the wise might have it for a record, that my compatriots reflect laypersons gain some understanding and melancholy souls obtain some slight enjoyment.
Very close to Chmielowski, and here we have imagination of what could happen. Is everything as straightforward as it seems? Reductive though this may be, even Ruben Asher discusses, well, is green the colour green? Is it exactly as I see it, or is there something else going on here? Everyone seems to be rejecting Chmielowski's literalist stance. Tokarczuk here is giving us the trajectory that something is going to change. The conservative, the traditionalist, something is going to enter what I assume is going to be Jacob Frank and disrupt everything underneath. Maybe Jacob Frank doesn't offer answers, but offers a change of perspective, which is something that everyone seems to be telling Chmielowski to do. But a change of perspective doesn't mean that that's right. Just because you're fighting against a standard, a tradition, a given, doesn't mean that you are right. I am about halfway through the Book of Sand, and I thought I'd do like a little fun game. Anytime I don't understand what's going on, I'm just going to have a little swig. Dense. That is how I would describe the Book of Sand, and I feel as though there must be a way for me to embrace the culture, the history that is being talked about within this book. And the one thing that is guaranteed to bring people across cultures and nations together is food. We're making pierogies. I've called in backup. How are the pierogies going?
Nice.
Do you understand the Books of Jacob?
Yeah.
Oh, darn it. Got any tips for the people?
Yeah.
What's the tip?
I don't know.
She doesn't know. Are you just innately curious about Polish history?
Yeah.
Nice. I made a pierogi for the first time and I'm very impressed. What do you think, Dora?
Nice.
Nice. Take that. Be safe, my friend. the first casualty. Sleep well, brave soldier. Shh. That's really hot. All is fair in the world of love, war, and pierogi. There were many casualties, like this one. I mean, it tastes good. Yes.
Big.
Hazel, would you like to try a pierogi? Yeah. Oh, okay. Wow, those pierogies work. They even turned on my ring light. The book is sad we finally meet Jakob Frank and how even in his messianic want, he's not really the messianic character we would expect from someone messianic. Didn't think I'd be saying that word that many times. Debaucherous, unhinged, he even molts at one stage. He molts people, he molts. Tokarczuk within the next book is clearly going to discuss Jakob in a bit more detail, but one character I haven't spoken about yet is Yenta. Now, Yenta appears within the prologue. She is the person who has eaten a piece of paper to stay alive, and truly she's the narrative voyeur throughout all this. She's not dead, she's not alive. She's almost in a chrysalis stage, but by leaving her body, she can see in the past, present, and I assume future. Yenta is related to Jakob, but if these two are to meet is yet to be known. I suppose we better read on and find out. We're currently reading the Book of the Road, but like I did with Middlemarch, the further I get into longer books, the quicker I descend into madness. And so far, I have just spent a lot of time making memes about the books of Jacob. These are very niche. These are, you have to read the book to understand, but here are a few on the side that you can enjoy. Within the Book of the Road, we have a lot more political intrigue as Frank tries to secure his position. Now, what has to be said is that all the other characters are so absurd at times in their actions that the unhinged Jakob Frank seems to be the most believable character. Everyone seems to be unreliable. Nobel, who has been right in behind Frank's back, we've learned has just left his family and his children are dying just to be closer to Frank. He has some bias towards Frank being the Messiah that he is. We are also introduced to Gilda. I absolutely love Gilda. She is an absolute favourite of mine. But I've learned that, well, she's not really a princess. She's just telling people that, and people are believing this lie of hers, which really did hurt me. I was really affected by that. If you take away all the ejaculate, the erections, and the ejaculation of as Frank meets Yenka's cold, not alive, not dead body, one of the most atrocious things that I have read when it comes to the books of Jakob is a Washington Post article called "The Books to Read in 2022 Based on What You Loved in 2021" by Angela Haupt, where Haupt claims that if you enjoy Clara and the Sun by Kazuro Ishiguro, then you should read The Books of Jakob by Olga Tokarczuk. Angela, have you read either of these books? Is it just because they're both Nobel laureates? Because I feel as though you can make the same claims saying if you really enjoy the controversy of Peter Hanker's denial of genocide, then you would really like Bob Dylan's music. Angela, you've made an enemy in Wales and you didn't even know it was going to happen. Even Haupt's article falters as she doesn't even compare it to Ishiguro's work. She just says it's about Jakob Frank and the Frankists. Get out. Angela Haupt, get out of the door. If your literary journalism is anything to go by, how will I trust you to keep my kids safe with the recent treadmill I bought? Angry, I'm frustrated, I'm gonna make some more pierogi. Naked pierogi, because I don't understand the books of Jacob.
Making the roadies.
Can we see the rogies?
Ta-da!
I've set up the camera so it looks like I'm going to finish the next chapter, when in reality I've done it 2 weeks ago. This book has a lot of information and I feel as though I'm struggling to find the adrenaline to keep on. It's enjoyable, it's good, it's rich, but it's a little bit overbearing at times. I just need something to give me the energy to review this. Blue to the sky, orange in the eye.
Now we're halfway and to no surprise. In this section let me summarize. Frank is argued with a few rabbis. Princess Yabanoska's bin has been baptized. We got dancing with some folk, a stable hand, a Polish joke. Now Nama's name is Pete, rapper Portuguese Yiddish, Moshka Sagre over Matami. Tell me, can you see the coming of the strange things? Like a real one who knows it, and is in a cave, chilling out there. It's crystallized, the real all around with me. How do you say why I go away? Is it even why I go away?
Why gowie? Vigoey? Vigowe?
I mean, you don't have to say just what you do. Mawida is gonna do the speaking for you. Kasakova. But tell me, can you see the comet up there? What's the strange deed? You're a friend, no one who knows it. Yen is in a cave, chilling out there. It's crystallized.
Really hurt, and I had a panic that I had done it with a real one. Jeez, that could have gone wrong, couldn't it, peeps? From that half point onwards, this book is a breeze. How Tokarczuk has even tried to make this as linear as it possibly can, whilst being wholly set in the past, in the history, in the present. We zoom in and out and change characters is beyond me. It is an absolute feat. But as I mentioned a little while ago, the closer the people get to Jakob, or the further away, and as they begin to change religions, all the names change. You move into contemporary Polish epic historical fiction version of chess, not checkers, trying to pin down who is who after all their names change. Whoa, that's a game and a half. I say that, but it's mostly the Frankists who change names. Chmielowski isn't changing his name. Gitler, who's... the end of Gitler, I felt absolutely betrayed. I really wanted Gitler to have her own spin-off series. I'm still, not emotionally recovered from what happens to Gitler. You have Yenta, who's still narrating this, but even after the death of everyone, yes, people die in history, this isn't a spoiler, get over it. She'll narrate the legacy of Jakob Frank past World War II, which makes for a very interesting epilogue. The end of the letters and also the end of Chmielowski and Druzbaka, who throughout this do give some light entertainment, is bittersweet to say the least. Naaman, in and of himself, changes. I mean, he does have an orgy with Jakob Frank's wife, Hannah, with some others, because I think they'll get closer to Jakob Frank. That's questionable. As you venture into the latter part of this novel, there's no point questioning the morals of these characters. It should be like water off a duck's back of some of the things that they do. Jakob Frank is questionable throughout, but don't worry, at least he doesn't pimp his own daughter out towards the end for standing. I mean, he does do that, and he also drinks breast milk up until his dying days. Breast milk, Jakob Frank are in unity. Absolutely loves it. But the question you're asking is, did I love it? I mean, not breast milk, I mean the book. Let's not go there. Did I love this book? I mean, I enjoyed it. It's a 7 out of 10. This is a book that demands patience and time from the reader. This isn't a page turner. This isn't something that you can read very quickly over one weekend. You won't understand any of it. You won't maintain any of it. This is a dense book. This is a rich book. And if it's a valuable book, you're going to have to read and find out for yourself.